Since we've got something, I think we'll go ahead and start with call to order and roll call.
We have Arlene Dortman.
Here.
Josh Rinaldi.
Here.
Tom DeVee.
Yes.
Glenn Pepper.
Yes.
Carrie Snow.
Here.
And no Jennifer today.
Right.
Okay. Staff, we have Harold Dominguez. Molly O'Donnell. Here. Sarah Arney. Here. Quincy Williams.
Here.
And then Aquila Hayes. Here.
And Kendra Dennis.
And Kendra Daniel, sorry.
Here.
Okay. We can do a couple of things. We can either look at the minutes really fast and see if we want to approve them, or we can just hold them until next time. And I don't have a problem with holding them because I know we're going to go through the budget and everything. It might be easier to hold them until next time. I just need somebody to motion that or move that or agree with that or disagree or something.
I would move to hold off on the minutes vote until next week. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll take a look at those next time. Thanks, Erica, for getting it ready. Okay, public invited to be heard. Where's our little lady that I'm supposed to be here? Okay, organizational updates, board vacancy recruitment updates.
I'll give that update. So we had originally 4 applicants for the advisory board open position. When we went to schedule interviews for the 4, we could only get one. We could only get one to respond. The good news is the one was pretty well qualified in the area of affordable housing. So Tom and Arlene have made they're going to send their recommendations up to the Board of Commissioners, and then the Board of Commissioners will interview that one applicant on November 20th. We'll double check that date while we're sitting here, and then the appointments will be made at the December 16th council meeting. So all is well. There was only one of 4, but it was a good interview process. So I think that's our update for today.
Okay. All right, items for input to the Board of Commissioners. Suites tenant selection plans.
So I'm going to kick this off and then introduce Aquila here. Aquila is one of our housing choice voucher specialists. So she's been with us for how long?
Just hit 2 years on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 2 years.
Congrats.
So this is something that you all heard about in concept last time. We wanted to get your feedback before we started making red lines, knowing that this meeting is on the same day that the Board of Commissioners will consider this item tonight. So what you have, I'm going to pull up our memo that describes, this is what we, PDFs, this is what, PDF is not visible. Let's just do this. So you've heard about this, and we haven't changed anything fundamentally from what we all discussed last time. But here is the summary of what we're bringing to the board tonight. And then Aquila would like to give a summary of this as well, just to recap what we went over. And also she's rehearsing for her first board presentation tonight. So I'll just turn it over to Aquila.
Good morning, everyone. So, guess we've covered part of my introduction, so I'll skip ahead. So, as the voucher specialist, I'm the caseworker for our tenants on the HCV, PBV, LRA, and SRO programs. So, I'm processing their paperwork for their annual recertifications, as well as any income and household changes they might have throughout the year. I'm also responsible for monitoring vacancies across some of our properties, managing wait lists, and then also processing the new admissions. One of the wait lists that my coworker Shelby and I manage is for the project-based voucher units at the suites. The suites, of course, being our permanent supportive housing property. There are 82 units there that all have project-based vouchers. Clinica Family Health and Wellness administers 40 of those vouchers, and LA LHA administers the other 41. So typically when there's a vacancy over at the suites, Shelby and I work through a wait list of applicants to fill that spot. Typically the applicants are people who've come in to LHA and filled out a paper application, or they might work with a representative of one of our local shelters to fill that out and submit that during our waitlist opening period. We haven't held a waitlist opening for the suites since 2023, and that waitlist does provide a preference for applicants that are experiencing homelessness. So because of that preference, the makeup of the applicants are generally homeless people or transient individuals, which does pose some challenges when we're trying to fill the unit. So we're often finding that people, they don't have contact information when they're filling out the application. They don't have a permanent address, a phone number, or an email. And in the case when they do have that information, by the time we make it to them on the wait list, that information is no longer current. So, they've moved, the phone's disconnected, or the number's changed, or they don't have consistent access to their email. So they're very hard to get in touch with. And on top of that, when we send out admission packets to people on the wait list, we have to give them 14 days to complete it and return it to us. So that essentially puts us in a 2-week freeze where we have no idea if we're going to hear back from them, and we cannot move forward to the next set of applicants. We've been trying to fill some vacancies at the suites recently, and we had a 2.9% response rate. So, you might hear that and think, well, why don't you just open the wait list more often, refresh your applicant pool? And unfortunately, we cannot do that. We have to work through everyone on our wait list. We have to exhaust it before we can open the wait list again. And we do not have a high number or a high turnover rate for our tenants at the suites, which is good and really speaks to the dedication of our staff to keep our tenants housed. However, that means we can't work through a wait list fast enough to even reopen it once a year. So really just the current management strategy we're using is not serving us well. It's really hindering our ability to efficiently fill vacancies, which of course has effects to revenue further up that chain. So in an effort to address those challenges, we're proposing amendments to the 2025 voucher administrative plan and the tenant selection plan for the suites. The amendments will revise current policies governing how the suites waitlist is managed and to allow referrals through the Boulder County local case conferencing system, which uses a coordinated entry process to connect homeless households to available housing resources. Current partnering agencies already involved in the coordinated entry process would be like Hope for Longmont and All Road Shelter over in Boulder. So instead of Shelby and I slowly working through this wait list with the changes, we would notify our partnering agency when we have a vacancy coming up, and then they will work with their clients to find a match and get that person in touch with us. Let's see here. We're confident that adopting these changes will increase our efficiency of getting new tenants as well as reducing vacancies. For one, when we get a referral, it's going to put us directly in contact with someone who's interested in exiting homelessness right then at that moment. Additionally, the applicant has support from their caseworker or we'll say shelter staff to get in touch and stay in touch with us, and then also they'll help them work through the entire admission process. We are also thinking of being able to speak with an applicant about the immediate availability of a unit will help them and encourage them to follow through and complete the application process. So I think it sounds better to speak to someone and say, if you're qualified and you make it through the admission process here, there's a unit waiting for you, as opposed to we know you need help and we're going to go ahead and sign you for this wait list, but you have to wait. And then we're also confident that this change will be successful for us just because we've seen demonstrated success in using the coordinated entry referral process. That's what we use for the LRA program, so the locally funded vouchers, and I process all of those new admissions. Typically, when I have a voucher available, we reach out to a partnering agency. They'll get back in touch with me usually in 2 days with a match. And then I'm sending out our admissions packet to them and the tenant, or sorry, the applicant. They help them. That could be helping them complete the packet itself, get new identity documents. Some people need to request new social security cards, pay stubs, bank accounts, asset information, and they get that back to me. And I typically get a response back in 7 to 10 days. So I know that with using this system, it greatly increases the efficiency of getting through that admissions process. And then really just beyond those improvements, a larger benefit of this change will be strengthening our relationship with our partner agencies and other community resources, really just with the increased communication and sharing of knowledge that will allow us to build a stronger response to better help those the most vulnerable in our community. So, any questions?
So are we going to be switching then to more referral basis rather than the wait list? Then?
Yes, exactly.
What do we do with our existing wait list then?
So, like I said, we've recently been trying to fill people, and we've actually exhausted our wait list.
Okay.
So we
all
have
right.
134 applicants on that wait list left, and we sent out an interest letter to them, and we got 4 responses. So,
All right. So it's
Kinda wrap it
all right.
up.
That was my concern, is if we still have the wait list and we're going to be switching over.
Right.
That's the same question that the state, DOH, asked when we sent this to them last week. They knew, they said that would have been our question. However, you explained to us that you're going to exhaust that first, so they're enthusiastically. So that'll be going to the board tonight. And so the red lines to the tenant selection plans and the admin plan are in this extended printed packet for you. Apologies, I didn't get to look those in advance, but if anybody would like to peruse those, we're happy to share and pass around. The memo itself up here that I've had up explains everything that just went over.
And what other units that we have also use a referral basis program?
So the locally funded vouchers, the LRA program, local rental assistance. So those are also applicants transitioning, could be from homelessness. That's what I see a lot.
And Zinnia uses them as well, but that is more, we don't manage those vouchers directly. We're more involved on the four-way team.
So within LHA, this would be the first one that we are administering with the referral side?
Well, the other side of the suites.
Yes, Clinicas, they have been doing this
Very
since, we made that change for them about a year ago, and it's been going very well. And so this would streamline, we would all be doing it the same way. Everyone's pretty excited about the administrative streamlining, and also these are the folks that are teed up and ready to go to exit homelessness, and they've been working with case managers, getting supports and that type of thing. So it's
So really with this referral basis, they're either going to go the Clinica route or through us, so it's kind of
yes.
all siphoned through the same pool.
Yeah, I think the big thing is it's really connecting the system for coordinated entry in terms of likelihood for success. I think Spanish does it dramatically because coordinated entry has caseworkers that are working with it, sometimes lead corps, and they're engaged in this. And so it's like the whole team, so success is more likely just because you have a lot of supporting agencies involved.
I mean, are we missing a pool of applicants if we're all getting them from the same population? Or is it that population's basically complete because of the people?
Our goal is to get people who are unhoused into coordinated entry so that we're providing services to them ahead of time. Typically, the individuals that don't choose to go into that I'm gonna look at Sarah to help me on this one. Typically, the individuals that don't choose to go into coordinated entry that are unhoused are individuals that we end up having problems with. And the whole point of coordinated entry is to really baseline folks to get them ready for housing.
And the list is plenty long.
So they're out weekly, whether it's our internal team, whether it's Hope's team. They're probably out today, right now, talking to folks, trying to get them engaged in coordinated entry. So it's really up to the individuals whether or not they want to be part of it.
Okay. You don't need any action from us, right? Okay.
No, unless you would like to not recommend us speaking to the board tonight.
Well, having read through everything. Okay. All right. LHA participation.
So this is a question that just came up at the very end of last week that we are going to present to the board tonight. But I will have to defer a little bit to Harold on this on the most recent conversations. But generally, the city has invested money into an employer-based child care program so that employees get access to affordable quality child care, given our extreme need here in the community. And so that's going to be through TLC would be the provider. And so we're going to be talking tonight with the board about for LHA employees to be able to participate. The reason city employees have access to this is because the city invested funds into it. So we're going to be talking tonight about if LHA wants to participate in this, what would it take? Is there anything you want to add on that? Just
No,
it's
that's
more
just
like,
basically,
that's the
it's just a
question.
funding
Yeah.
issue.
So it's primarily an FYI since it's just a question at this point.
So that email that was sent by Molly doesn't apply to us?
So LHA needs to commit funds for LHA employees to access it.
And what size funds are we talking?
This came up Friday afternoon,
Yeah,
so
this
we got to
came
kind
up
of piece
Friday.
it together.
Friday afternoon, so the city committed about 175,000 for this. And so I think probably LHA would need to pull 20 or 30,000 out of fund balance. But it kind of depends on how many people apply. So it could be 10, it could be 30. I don't see it going beyond 30,000 in the first run.
Now being that LHA isn't, 100% self-sufficient, it's basically coming out of the city's pocket anyway, right? Because the fund balance is backfilled by the city.
No, the fund balance is what we manage internally with LHA. What we're saying is self-sufficient is operationally, we have a lot of one-time funds coming into the LHA budget, which bolsters the fund balance, but in terms of it doesn't pull the operating dollars in annually to offset the annual expenses. So LHA is self-sufficient, and we would have to ideally fund it out of fund balance, but when we talk about the projects that we're looking at to create that ongoing funding, that then has to be provided for that. We're essentially also doing the same thing on the city side. We realized late last week too that we have a lot of folks that are requesting it from our enterprise funds. So we're actually going back into our enterprise funds and looking at the enterprise funds spending money in to offset what the general fund put in.
So what kind of hours does this childcare have? Have to be open, I guess, is probably. Are we even thinking that, or?
I would expect it would follow TLC's existing programming setup. I don't know what the answer to that question is.
We asking, you said the hours of the facility?
The child care center.
Because I took a tour last week, me and my girlfriend were expecting. And I did get an amount that supposedly I would get off. They said turn in pay stub, so they let me know what that was. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 7 to 4. 7 to 4. And then they divvy up the prices. They do 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and 5 days a week. is how they'll split it up as far as what you'll be able to get. 5 days a week is 1,800, 3 days a week is 1,400, and then 1 day a week is whatever, or 2 days a week is whatever that price was. But I think it just follows the normal rules and the normal standards of the daycare.
So that cost is per month.
That cost is per month.
So, okay.
Yeah. So when I turned everything in, they came back to me and explained that I get a 20% discount off of it if I wanted to do 5 or whatever the days is. But from that compared to the other daycares that we've looked at so far, it's 1,000% the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's good quality.
Yeah. We told it. We went around it, and look, I asked the question to them, and I think they got offended when I asked it, but I was just asking it just to ask. I don't have kids, and I'm learning, so I asked if they had cameras, and oh no, we don't have cameras, and they went down a spiel, and it was a thing, but I think that it'd be a good place.
At least on the outside. Outside.
I'm trying to find our hours in their parent handbook real quick. So I'm not sure I want to get it.
TLC, they're building a new facility right off of 119 and 3rd.
So this says 7:30 to 5:30, but I'm sure that you have to do a block where you can do not 7:30 to 5:30. It's like you do an early shift probably. But
That pretty well covers it, yeah. So this is something I've thought about a lot, having lived through this. As we're pursuing childcare, is there any way that we can start thinking about adult daycare and attaching it to, I've seen this done in other places where and by attaching it to childcare, I mean there's 2 separate buildings which can go back in between and they interact with each other. Is there any way that we can even think about that in the future? Because the only place that I know of that's open to everybody in the community that does adult daycare is one at the Lutheran Church on 3rd and Terry. But it's just something a lot of people said, what do we do when we're caring for somebody?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of groups that we funded our Health and Human Service funding historically. So that's on the side of Christina and Alberto in their department. I think it would be dependent on the operators, and I'm not sure that TLC wants to move in that direction. And so what we could do is bring Christina and Alberto in at a future agenda to talk to that because they actually know it better than I do. So.
When we talk to developers, we talk about childcare or not. Can we eventually say, think about adding this segment as well?
Yeah, I think the big piece of that is finding the operators. Because we're finding the operator piece is probably it's easy to build it. It's harder to operate childcare generally, so I think we just need to find an operator.
Okay.
But that's something we can talk to Ronnie and Christine and Alberto about.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Resident quality of life.
no agenda items from staff here, just open for the group.
Okay. Rising issues in housing.
Nothing specific here. We kind of, right before the meeting, we were talking a little bit about the government shutdown. It might be good to give an update on how that impacts us here. We know on the city's housing side, our CDBG, or 2025 CDBG grant agreement has not been executed. It's sitting in their DocuSign and has been for a month. So we're waiting for that to be able to spend those dollars. And then on our side, we just don't have really any contact with our shortfall group right now. Is that correct? So we're waiting for them to come back. But the last we did hear, they did send us one thing when it was shutting down that said, we'll get back to you when we're open. Kind of gave us a reassuring statement, which we always, view with a lens of making sure that we're still planning plan B just in case. But we're still projected to be in shortfall Our amount is not significant. It has lowered since we did our first projections, and there is supposed to be shortfall funding available for us. So we're just waiting for them to all come back and let us know any more updates. Anything else?
And we're getting funding. So
Yeah, we're
they
getting our
are
voucher
getting
funding.
emails that say, hey, we released December funding to you, here's the amount. They did one in November that we just found out about that I didn't get any notification on, but it was also HAP funding, so it was kind of an extra. So they did have us, the thing is they said by the 31st, October 31st, send us what you're gonna have. Estimate the best as possible, because then they're going to transact that stuff. Of course, they shut down earlier than the 31st, so we got it over, but definitely we're still getting notification that we're getting the money and it's coming through the bank. So far so good, at least for this year.
So is it delayed then? I mean, they're saying the funding will be coming, or are we?
No,
just-
it's been coming when it's supposed to. So on the 1st or the 3rd, depending on where the first falls. Yeah.
Current year, all the current year stuff has already been approved officially beforehand.
So current year means through December.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. YJ reports. Karen was going to put you in charge of this thing.
Sure. We're gonna have like 2 hours of sleep here on the morning.
So I've got,
Another
Want me to talk?
wake you up. No, I just want to have whatever we need out of here.
I've got the occupancy report up online as well. I think for development updates, would you like to start there, Arlene, before we go into the reports?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
I'll keep it pretty brief today. Ascent still, every time that Katie goes on site and sends us pictures, you can see more of the fun stuff going in. Construction is still anticipated to finish 2 months ahead of schedule in December. We've been doing a lot of work on our bringing in our applicants, doing our marketing, and then now we're also expanding that to just general transition to operations, maybe making sure everything on the accounting side, the maintenance side, we're getting everything geared to go so that we can have people moving in probably right after the first of the year. So that is moving ahead, doing great. We're still coordinating on transition to operations for the child care center, so that's still in the works. And then I think we're kind of still in the same boat as last month, where we have some good opportunities on the horizon for our next new build project, but we have to see how the timing works out, which funding source would be best tied to which project, if we can do one project or two. So we're trying to figure out all of those moving pieces out right now. And as soon as we have some major movement, we'll let y'all know.
Well, I just want to say that it was really nice to walk through the facility last time and see everything. They're going to be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, so.
In line with the projections, we need something to go in line in 2027, 2028, right? So right now, we don't have anything booked in that slot.
Not
currently.
specifically, but we have a couple of things that are good opportunities that we're trying to sort out. The ideal situation would be to have one of our big idea projects, kind of like Ascent was, big idea that's not super straightforward, hits multiple goals of the community, and then maybe if stars align, we could have one that is more of a straight shooter, hit that timeline quicker. Actually, I do have an update, speaking of, the Atwood Commons, which is a project that's proposed by Brickwell, a private affordable housing developer with LHA on as a special limited partner and property manager. They were successful in getting their tax credits here about a week ago, their tax credit award, so that project is a go. And they expect to be closing mid-2026 and going into construction. So we'll have that property opening probably 2028, which is exciting. And also the reason I can't believe I forgot it for a moment, but it ties in because LHA has not been a general partner in a tax credit award since Ascent, which was awarded in 2023. And so we have reached that 2-year mark where they kind of black you out for those 2 years. to make sure that they're spreading their tax credit awards around, at least to different entities, if not also the different communities. So now that Atwood has gone through, we think in the next year or two of tax credit awards, it'll be really good timing for LHA to put that through and do a general partner, and it could turn out really well. So all of our pipeline, even with our partners out there, is aligned pretty well.
And is there a developer fee tied to Atwood as well?
Not specifically. We could not be in the general partnership on that one because of that LIHTC restriction. So if they wanted to wait 2 years and include us in the ownership structure, they could have, but that was too long to wait. So we'll do our
Is that the one where we're
managing
and we get a management fee?
We get yes, and a special limited partnership fee, which is a one-time, small ongoing for just operations of that, but a nice fee up front as well.
Any updates, and I'm sorry if you guys discussed this last month because I wasn't there, but on the True North development and construction?
Yep, so have you driven by that yet?
I have, yeah. Every time I go to Costco.
Going vertical,
Yeah.
which was really exciting. We've got a good, solid pipeline of applicants that are doing site selections, where the income qualification process has to go first. So many of them are through that, but that is the step one, and site selection is step two. I haven't gotten I think our first closing and move-in is expected here the first of the year.
Oh, wow. That sounds really good. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And who's developing that one?
That is vertical in partnership with the city. So homeownership. They are actively moving towards phase 2 because this was only phase 1 of 4 that went under construction. So there will be 3 more phases to come, and they've got a good solid plan in place for phase 2, and they expect to be putting in for building permits and going horizontal on the infrastructure here in the next 6 months or so.
How is it going for employees applying? Are we getting a lot of people from there?
They're all going to be neighbors. Because they're so many in phase 1. There's a good number in phase 1. Yeah.
How to get away from you?
I should get the most recent count of those that are in the process for phase 1, but there's definitely a number. We had more applicants than the 24 that the city set aside specifically for employees. They can still, if they can still live there if they just go down the line. So at the time when we had all the applications open and the flood came in, we had well more than what we set aside. I should get an update though on to see how many are actually in phase 1. Because you could also reserve and say, I'll wait for phase 2, but I don't know if anybody's done that, so I can check.
Okay, well, that's good. You know, some of this stuff, it's good for the public to know that the city is actually doing stuff to help the employees. I think sometimes they just get stuck in a rut and...
Yeah, I think once we get more clarity, so we're kind of, once we communicated and everything, we're kind of letting them handle it to really have an arm's length transaction from the city and that, because at the same time, we don't want people to say, well, city employees are getting preference in how they're coming into the system, and so that's really, they're handling it, but then as we get more information, that'll start making its way to us as we finish it. And then I'm waiting on some of the data because I come across someone that has a different financing program for houses, so but we're waiting on the data from True North to meet with them to talk about it. So it's a program that we've heard about where think of splitting equity with a joint investor. So if you're trying to make the closing, so I could have capital that I invest in it. Kendra doesn't necessarily have the money to make the down payment and some other things, but we actually come in together and she gets an ownership stake based on what she can put in, and that's the equity percentage that she gets, and then she can buy up more equity over time. And so I mentioned it to Molly, but we're really waiting on the True North numbers to start making its way to us to see who's qualifying, who's not qualifying, why are they not qualifying, what's the gap, so that we can be a little bit more clear-eyed when we talk to this other individual. And make sure it's not predatory.
Okay. All right. Update on operations. Quincy,
It's up on the board as well.
Good morning, everybody. The occupancy report here. Aspen Meadows neighborhood, we're still 100% occupied. Aspen Meadows Senior, we have been working through qualifying applicants. Summer does have, she moved somebody in last week, and we have somebody else. I think this Saturday she's actually going to be moving somebody in. So we've been trying to go above and beyond for that. The rent prices are still an issue, but we have been slowly chipping away at it. For the full price too. I know Kendra granted us the $12.50. We've been shooting for that $14.12. For to be fair and equitable, we are trying to stay at that $14.12. And if something else comes up, then we'll let Kendra know, and then we can drop down to the $12.50. Fall River, still the same. Mackenzie does have the 3 rentable units. She does have applicants on there. She said by the end of December we'll be 100% full there. We've given people time to put their 30-day notices in where they're at, so we'll be 100% there. They're still working through the wait list over at Spring Creek. That number hasn't changed. They still have 2 vacants there. Hartstone, Jonna has applicants on her units as well as the lodge. So I'm hoping those will be leased up by the end of this month. Those 2, their waiting lists are always long and pretty easy to pull from. So she has people for those. The suites, like Aquila was explaining, we are trying to propose some new things over there to get some applicants in. So with Hurstville, and then VOM, we did have, we had a death, and then we also had several people move out. I know you guys asked for a summary on the reasons for move-outs, which we have included in there as well. Majority of it is relocating. I put relocating, moving in with family, and out of state all in the same batch. It all should be. And that's over 20 residents that we've had this year that are relocating. A lot of them are just moving in with kids or going to some type of assisted living facility. And then the next biggest one was deceased at 14 people this year, which we expect with having senior properties. And then the next one was eviction, and then the rent being too high, which it isn't that many people that have complained about the rent being too high, but I do know that a lot of the the moving in with family, moving out of state, and the relocation partially has to do with the rent being too high as well. So all of that can kind of be bunched into one.
Is the evictions part of that?
For the evictions?
Yeah.
Eviction, it could be, but with us, what I've seen in this last year is we're not necessarily evicting for non-payment of rent because it's been easy to find that assistance. It's mostly for just other activities. Maybe a lot of the evictions have come out of Zinnia. I can't think of any other evictions at any other properties, if I'm being completely transparent with you. I don't think we have, so I think they've all been out of Zinnia, and that's to come with it being the first year. So it's tough getting those type of properties stabilized. Pretty much. Just criminal activity and drug use. And that's over at Zinnia. Like I said, I don't think we've had too many other evictions anywhere else, if any. Zinnia in the suites. And yeah, Briarwood's still 100% occupied, so we are chipping away at getting these units filled. Aspen's is tough, like I said, but we have some methods and some ways to get around that. Any questions?
I just want to say that everybody is really excited that we're not raising the rent.
Yes. Yes, everybody's very excited.
That's been a positive thing.
Everybody's very excited about that for sure.
Yeah.
And then with property updates, We don't have any huge property updates. Like I said, we're still giving marketing efforts to get Aspens filled. The suites elevator is being installed last week, the week of 11/3. The installation was completed on 11/10, and professional elevator inspections will be out to inspect the elevator. Once they come out, then the elevator will be operational for the residents to be able to use. Patrick has that scheduled. I need to get the exact date. I do know that the doors project was awarded, and the start date for the doors over at the suites, because they're hotel style doors, so they lock behind you. We're going to change that so the residents don't have to continue making emergency maintenance calls to call them out to unlock their door. Granted, Robert lives on site, but that's not his job to do that every time somebody gets locked out. It's not his week to be on call, and that starts on 12/1. And then with the Yardi implementation, it's been working well as far as our online payments. We do have some residents at Village on Main Street who have been, our testers in this process, and it's been working well, I think. So
We have the Village on Main, we have the suites have done some, Aspen. So we had about probably 15 total, and some of them are using the auto, where they only have to enter it once and it does it for them, and some of them are using the one-time payments for, when they're ready to pay, they pay.
Yeah, and I've heard positive things about that, especially from Village.
For sure.
I think that's great.
For sure.
It's been a while coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, they're still allowed, if they want to bring a regular money order or check to the office, they can still do that. But this is another avenue that they don't have to bother us or come see us if they don't want to.
Do we charge a fee for them to use that?
No, the properties are taking on a fee. I think it was like 95 cents per transaction.
I'm assuming it's a bank account too, not credit.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
That was actually a conversation that we had. Should we do that? And we didn't feel as if it was right to do. So, yeah.
You getting a lot of requests for help?
Yes.
Yeah. I just got one this morning.
It's a little tricky if they have a voucher and they're already on the same platform with that voucher agency to be able to link their accounts so they don't have to have multiple. So that is a little tricky, but the property managers have been working through it. And so, yeah.
With Ascent, this is the week that Summer and I will start calling applicants, getting them qualified. We will schedule appointments. I think that it'll be better if they come in face to face so we can kind of see where we're at, gauging with everything, and get people put into units. Right now, with the PPVs and the people that I have qualified from the waiting list, we're 55% full, which I'm satisfied with the circumstances of the 70s and 80s. We're still pushing through those. Those are, I don't think they're going to be as tough to fill as we think they are, because I've been speaking to people about that price when they ask about it, and they're fine with it. I mean, $2,400 for a 4-bedroom, people don't seem to blink at that, so that's been working. Unfortunately, we did offer a community manager 2 weeks ago, and we have not heard anything back from her. So we've moved on to the next candidate, because in this report it does say that we offered a specific person. That fell through. This morning I sent out an offer to a young lady named Corey Richardson, and we're going to have her start date on the 24th. HR is working with her right now through getting that going, so we do have somebody. And then James Tubman, he is the new maintenance technician who started with us a couple weeks ago, and he's been great. So the maintenance staff is fully full right now. Sure. Any questions about that?
No, but I would say the temperature of the meetings has changed significantly. At all properties.
Yeah, in a good way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I go to most of them, and the difference between now and a year ago is significant.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think
you're giving them better information and being more straightforward.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, just being candid with them and transparent, but also, setting that boundary with them. They've felt a lot more comfortable with.
I think also the automation is they finally see something positive, cameras and automation. Those projects can close,
For sure.
Made a big difference. And if we're going to have a 5-year project, I think in the past, we've said, well, we're working on it, and now just being straightforward with no expectations has been a big help.
Absolutely.
That's great feedback, thank you, Glenn.
The meetings I've attended have been quite a bit shorter than the ones from last year.
Yeah, they're not as long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to calm down.
And then also too, just to put out there for the group as well, for you, the residents at the one specific resident who's doing the whole cellular
Radon thing,
they're
or radiation.
the residents there are not happy about that. They want her to stop, so they're not gonna rally or do anything of that sort of. People thought that that might happen from her doing that. They're against it. They want it to stop. They understand what's going on, and just to put that out there, some good news. So we're not gonna have anybody with pitchforks and fire torches outside the city center.
So, just so that the rest of the council members or the board members, she did show up at the senior center advisory board meeting last week and seemed a little bit, I use the word discombobulated. She just seemed a little bit confused. But she did show up there. I don't know if she's going to show up at any of the other board meetings or council meetings or advisory board meetings, but it was kind of interesting because it was a little bit hard to get her to quiet down and leave. And not that she just kept going on.
That's what happened at the last coffee and conversation, to where she got up and kind of tried to make a big scene, and I begged her.
Mm-hmm.
I literally begged her to stop and, come talk to me about it later. And then that's when I got Molly to step in. So she's been running point on that one. Yeah.
She's pretty adamant about it, but yeah, she couldn't exactly prove her point over there at the senior center either, so, yeah.
She was also at a couple of protests.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a
Just all
date,
the
but I
things.
did send her a response to her concerns, and I haven't heard back, but I can't figure.
No, you didn't hear back because it was on 10:30. You sent it.
But the other thing is that Pupkin was actually at that meeting at the senior center, so he did tell her, yes, we've received your information from the city council. I mean, she's been, you guys are keeping in touch with her, so.
Yeah.
She's been heard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay, so I guess we're at Kendra.
Me, yeah. So,
I'm gonna let you
Instead of-
drive with this since it's many pages.
well, I'm gonna do a high level, and then if we want to go through the individual pages, if you guys want to see those. Basically, pretty much every property but the suites is over budget in vacancies. And I imagine if we just now have 2 new ones with the suites, we're probably going to be over budget by fourth quarter with the suites, so we're all over in vacancies. The entities that are 75% over in budget, AMSA, we had a pretty large flooring relocation, so it was almost about $7,000 to relocate they were having their flooring replaced. That wasn't budgeted. For the Hearthstone, we had the fire, which is about $400,000. It's leaning a little over that right now. And their HOA fees increased like $400 per quarter. So that's gonna put that entity over budget in those areas. For VOM, we had the re-syndication, which basically until we went to permanent loan, we were incurring a lot of interest costs. So that looks over the amount right now. So that's where 70%. And then at Briarwood, we had a boiler failure and some repairs, some cleanup that was due, along with some bad debt that was recognized. LHA, we're over in our voucher payments, which is why we're in shortfall at the moment. So, but we're getting so close. We're almost to the amount that we were supposed to be at the beginning of the year by taking what the budget number was. So that's great. And then so that's kind of the financial portfolio. Do you guys want to look at each one of these, or?
Could you just zoom in a little bit?
Up there, at the top middle. Try to find my mouse.
I mean, for our properties, are we following FASB or GASB rules?
It's kind of both. It follows both.
Okay.
So a lot of it's more FASB with the properties.
Okay.
Yeah. But there is some kind of certain things that follow GASB as well.
Okay. Just because the insurance proceeds sides, do we not, why don't we net that with the expenses that we have?
So our auditors actually, so they do net them
Okay.
when it comes to the audit,
Okay.
but we separate them because it's easier and more, like, it just is easier to locate stuff and how our receipt system works and expense works. So they do negate it
Okay.
when it actually comes to the financial audit. We just don't negate it in this system.
Just an
Yeah.
explanation point here with these financials. Okay.
Yeah. That was one thing I found the first year we had an insurance claim. I was like, where'd my expenses go? They're like, oh, there it is. So they net to zero with the exception of the deductible that has to be paid. So yeah.
And then in terms of the budget for next fiscal year, are we increasing our vacancy rate for that at all? Or are we expecting it to normalize? And what did we use for the budget for next year?
We used 4%.
Okay.
So I used 4% to give us an idea of what we could spend, but I mean, it's a monitoring process. I'm hoping vacancies will be less, right, Quincy?
I'm hoping, yes, 1,000%.
I think too, a lot of our property managers didn't also understand that when a unit goes on notice, they can start marketing it right then and there to try to get it filled. So they were waiting until the unit was empty, clean, ready to fill. So you're already, 2 months behind if they have to give 30 days notice. The one thing that I think they're struggling with though is being able to show the unit. So a lot of people don't want to move into a unit unless it can be shown. And if we don't have another vacancy to at least show them what the floor plans look like. What's nice about our online system is that we do have all of the floor plans out there now. So you can actually go to our websites on the LHA website now. Go to the portal, you can look at all of the floor plans so you can actually see kind of how it's laid out. You just don't get the big picture of what you're actually moving into. So
You can't show the apartment
I mean, it might not be turned, and you never want to show an unturned unit because that could put a bad taste in somebody's mouth.
you don't know if they're a hoarder, you don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, you would almost have to do an inspection prior to having somebody view it.
But that's what I do. I do an inspection. As soon as I get notice, I schedule an inspection. I go in, I figure out, can I show this unit? Can I not show this unit? It's in good shape. It's in our leases, like I can show it with 24 hours notice.
That was the next thing. So if it is in good shape, then yes, we can show it. We've had some of those. But if it's not, then we'll just save ourselves the heartache in the long run with showing them the unit. And now all of a sudden there's everything wrong with it because we showed it to them when it wasn't clean and turned. So it just depends. The only place I could say that they don't really care about seeing the units at is Village on Main Street, and it's just it's that one is just mainly location. For those residents, it's easier for them to get places, and there's a bus stop right outside the property. But everywhere else, it's tough when you can't show because the unit might not be in a condition to show.
Do we have the ability maybe in the future to have like a 3D tours?
So we're doing that with Ascent. We're doing that with Ascent.
How do you say that?
We reached out and got some quotes for a drone company to come out and do a 3D visual of the unit and get good pictures. So hopefully we can continue. That's more of a Kendra question, but I know for Ascent we're definitely doing that to where we can show them that unit because that would be an issue if they didn't know what they were moving into. Because typically you don't show the unit and you kind of just take what you give them. But I would like to change that because it makes our life a little bit easier once we do that.
Let me ask you a question on this.
It's in the budget for next year.
I was gonna say, it's coming, it's
It's
coming.
in the budget for 2026.
It's coming.
Now, when it's gonna happen, it's all probably more summertime, just because
Yeah.
if you do it in the spring, more than likely you're gonna have, rain the next day, and you're
When was
just
the
right.
last time you washed this?
I feel like we've been.
2022? I was gonna say 2021.
But it is in the budget for next year though, so it will get done.
Doesn't that impede your ability sometimes to rent? When they come in and they can't see out the windows?
I don't know if it's got that bad.
The only place that it might be bad is the lodge, because the seals are broke, and they need their windows replaced.
That's all in the windows.
But
And that's
the others
where
are
I hear it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, is the lodge.
We hear the arrangements for people, I mean, I hate to keep bringing it up, but I hear it every meeting, almost every meeting, and I think for the last 2 years.
Well, it's in the budget for 2026.
Yeah, we gonna.
And he secured the price, Patrick secured the price from a window company that gave us a price 2 years ago.
So this is outside only, right? Or both, inside, outside only?
That I don't know.
I think it's just outside. Yeah.
Hopefully they're cleaning the windows inside.
Yeah,
too.
that's a tenant responsibility.
Yeah, the windows get cleaned there, unit turns.
Unit turns or as they're
It's just
occupying the
outside,
unit.
yeah.
In terms of Hearthstone, how much of the fire damage are we expecting the full amount to be paid in insurance proceeds?
So far, yes. We just received, so we had about it's more now, but there was $106,000 in relocation, putting tenants in the hotels. The mitigation was over 100, and the rebuild of just the 2 units plus the other units that might have had some flooring. And I know Patrick and them really tried hard to work with the insurance company to say, hey, let's not put carpet in these, can we put laminate flooring? And that we weren't successful there. But that was $300,000 is the rebuild just for those 2 units. And it sounds like they're in the process of walls are up, I think they're in the flooring, maybe the appliances in.
They finally got the drywall done. Those building permits came through, so yeah, it's just flooring now, and then they'll be painting and appliance and all that. So yeah.
So just a $5,000 deductible, that's at the moment. So I'll just go down. So as far as accounts receivable, here goes another. So right now, the 2 highest properties are A&N and the Suites. A&N actually is now up to $14K. 7,000 of that is due to a past due tenant, so I'm sure we're working through the process of trying to get collections, but it'll probably go to the board for write-off. Then we have 3 other tenants that have approximately 4K of that balance. And I don't know if there are demands over at A&M right now, but there's 3 tenants that are paying rent. So
I'll go look and I can tell you because there are a couple.
for the suites, we actually have 9,000 is one of our past tenants, and we have 6K, which is 2 other tenants that aren't paying rent. So those are the big ones, the big hitters right now, and I kind of looked as of October, and that's still the case. So I imagine those are probably also. I know some of them are currently going through eviction at the suites, so those will also probably be in the write-off phase by the end of the year as well.
So most of those ones that have a larger number like that, are most of those just written off by the board? I mean, I'm sure collections can't really do too much.
Yeah, I can write off 1,000.
Okay.
Harold can write up to 5,000 off, and then
Then it
anything
goes to
that's
the
over
board.
5,000, it goes to the board. So
And that's probably the vast majority of those
the big ones.
balances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they wrote off, I think, 3 last board meeting. Then we'll take a look at the vouchers.
Sorry, what's the timetable for that too? Like, how long do we give after we realize that we're not going to be able to recover from a tenant or past tenant? How long do we give collections to try to do anything before it comes to us? Or not us, sorry, you guys, the board.
It goes to them, and I think they have a 5-year time frame. We've never seen anything.
Okay.
And the one that we did see come through, what we found is we didn't have the documentation in place to take it to court. Like, we couldn't find any of the documentation that was on the ledger from previous LHA staff, so that enabled us to tighter our processes for move out and bring the county actually into the threshold on that one. So based on our funding, so we have $7 million. Our monthly allocation, if we were consistent every single month, and to make sure that we were using our reserves and not going into shortfall, would have been about $587,000. So as you can see in January, we were at $614, and it kind of we've been ending participations. It could be related to fraud. It could be just people aging out of the program, actually going down to zero balance half. And so now we are below that actual threshold, which is great because we need to add PVV vouchers for Ascent come January and February. But that kind of puts our, if we still have the 578, that puts us in about a shortfall of $143,000. And so if we had even more, we had a really big hit in November of end of participations. I think I lost 5 or 6 vouchers. So that really makes a big difference going into the next year where you start. And technically where we end is usually what they fund. But that could change since you don't know really the situation with HUD and how they're going to look at vouchers. But what I can say is that we have been doing our due diligence to make sure that we're getting below that number. We do have some court-end payments that agencies aren't paying. I sent messages. Believe it or not, I can't believe how many housing authorities do not have email addresses on their website to actually get a hold of anybody at those agencies. So we're working through that. I already received, some of them came back on Friday already, so they're not good contacts. So we'll try again. But I have a feeling they just don't have something recorded on their end to get us paid. So we're looking to hopefully get those fixed in our door by their December payment, if not January payment. So that's kind of where we stand. And this is just kind of how HUD makes us enter it in their system. So this January number over here is what hit the GL, but this is the voucher month that it falls in. So they actually have you report based on the voucher month instead of the GL, because the voucher month is actually going to change your projection into the future. If you have 614 versus 611, that will change your shortfall at the end of the year. So that's kind of how HUD has us enter that, and that's kind of what this shows and why you would see different. So they may have people on hold or issue vouchers, and it goes backwards in time to true up those sometimes. Do we have any questions? Okay, that's all I got.
Sarah,
Right. And pretty, Suites had 15 calls last month, and everything else is pretty much zero. I think what's coming up to be big on my plate is the 75 meth detectors we're putting in. So we are going to get those batteries installed and get everything kind of up in the portal before we install them. So we'd like to install them beginning of December.
First week.
So, working on that. That's about all I know.
What did suites used to average back when we would say it was more than it should have been?
Our high numbers like 30 to 40.
And what are the calls mostly about?
Welfare checks, some animal complaints.
Does it, you know, one time you mentioned that dog that was down there, that was causing problems. Is it still there?
Yes.
He is still there, and we have not had any more complaints since we sat down and had a talk with him. Myself, Nikki, and his caseworker. Him, and his caseworker had a meeting, and since then it's been good. So I'm not going to wood that it stays that way.
Welfare checks, some medical calls. Looks like some extra patrols. Yeah, and we had one burglary.
So you're saying
I think that was Audrey reporting that she thought people were in her unit. So,
You said yeah, about 50%.
I'd say,
What do you think? Reason for that?
I don't want to make assumptions, but I think management being involved and people, I guess, behaving.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to move on to the med detectors. The question is, what med detector goes off? What happens?
So there's no alarm. Basically, it's an email that's sent. Depends on, so we'll probably monitor it every hour, like we're doing the other ones in the city. And basically, I receive an email, and then Quincy will receive an email, and Patrick, and then at that point, we can go into the portal and check and find out like what number it sensed, and at that point we'll take action. We have a methodendum that everyone's going to sign that our attorney Tim has looked over and approved, and I think we brought that to the board several months ago. But everyone will know that they will have one in their unit.
Is there like a level that you can get high enough with your remediation?
Yes. Yes.
With the company that we have now that is doing the remediation for us, even if it's a super high level, they can find a way to not remediate. That's their whole thing is let's not tear the walls down, because they have materials that they can clean the units with. So that's what they're doing now. At Xenia, we've had some pretty high levels, and they've been able to clean it instead of us having to rip it down to the studs. So it's another positive as well.
What company is that?
70 Services. 70 Services, and then we use Stiles, Stiles, and his name is Scott, and he's the industrial hygienist.
Cool.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, the meth detectors too will be able to tell if they smoke meth outside and then walked into their unit.
Mm-hmm.
We could decipher that outside of them smoking meth in the unit, and then that number being what it is. So in a way, we should be able to gauge on the level of activity if they're doing it. Hopefully they don't.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, it's over 60 parts per billion indicates active smoking in the area, and anything other than that can be you're smoking outside. Honestly, when we were testing it in my office, sometimes Sarah would come in, and it would alert with her because it's so sensitive, like if she was at a camp or something. And so there is a number that generally you can see what is active. And the reason why we don't only put these in units that have been remediated or new units, because then you can actually deal with the individual. But if you don't ensure that the unit has been cleaned and it's clear, then it's hard to say, because you can pick on Kendra. If Kendra happens to be in there and we've never tested it, we put a unit in, there's no way we can say it's Kendra. We actually have had situations, we had one at Village of Maine actually where we were kind of in that same dilemma, and this was because we had a staff person kind of walk into the mess smoke, and what we realized is they actually put an acrylic covering over the cabinet before somebody moved in. And so that's a non-porous surface. So we were able to test the cabinet, and once the cabinet tested positive, then there was only one person that could be responsible for it. So really establishing that chain is important to be able to use them, but in most cases it's let's deal with it and clean it before we have to completely gut it.
Yeah.
That's the big piece.
And so it's even more prevention than that is the ideal, which is this is here, so don't even do it to begin
Yeah.
with.
Yes.
Second step is at least catch it early. And our intent is not to use it as a measure for eviction, but it could be. It could be if that's Stevens. I wanted to just highlight how big of a deal it is that we now have found a company with technology, or at least the trial and error of different methods in cleaning these units, because we did not have that even 1 year ago. We were in rebuild mode most times. We had to remediate a unit, and how much money that has saved us in light of us not having, no insurance covers this anymore. We were some of the last people that still had insurance that covered meth remediation. That is a massive deal that we have been able to. Also, newer build, like Zinnia, was built quite durable materials, a lot less porous materials. So maybe the combination of the two at that property, it's massive savings in time, down units, the cost to clean or rebuild. It's a huge, we've been talking about this for 5 years, and we finally have something that's at least working and promising.
And to add to that, it was really the research that we did. So the reason we use 70 Services is that they use a type of cleaning product that is made out of a company in Broomfield. So I went down there and met with him and asked him, what company uses your product? So he gave a couple companies. We connected with 70 Services, and we've been using it ever since.
So is that remediation the one that I think you and Harold were talking about? It's almost like a spray capacity,
It's a
right?
foam.
It's like
Yeah.
which
They
was,
literally
I think we were
clean
all
it.
amazed a few months ago when you guys were telling us about it.
We
because
did
of everything Molly
one of our
said.
units last November, and they did it for us, and it was just night and day from having done it before. Like, they were able to clean stuff that usually we would have just been like, just do the things. But getting rid of carpet is a big thing, because you can clean the LPD flooring, but carpet has to go in any scenario. Like, all carpet has to go. So I think as you transition or do your upgrades, getting rid of carpet is huge too, in terms of being able to clean units and making them more cleanable.
I'm sure.
At one point, we were talking to the developer about actually trying the foam on carpet.
It doesn't, so we had carpet in that unit I was talking about, and we actually talked about it, and he's like, I could try, but the cost of him doing the remediation on the carpet was worth just ripping the carpet out. I mean, at some point you're just like, it doesn't make any sense to spend the money on the cleaning. Especially carpet's a generally cheaper product. So.
Sarah, do we have the metal detectors in Ascent?
Well, the weird,
So we have them in a scent,
Do we have them?
but they're in Lauren's office right now.
Yeah, we're going to
Are we going to put them?
first week of December.
Yes.
We're gonna-
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
It's okay. It's like,
so Sarah, this is kind of chasing down leads, really. So Sarah chased down a company out of New Zealand, of which she's their R&D department. But then the company out of New Zealand is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, they're the ones that connected you to this guy in Broomfield.
yes.
Because they were starting to partner with the guy in Broomfield in terms of the chemical. because they found each other. And so now Sarah's in the middle of this group that is working with different people to deal with meth issues, which is, I think, part of why we've kind of been on the leading edge from a housing authority perspective. And it's really just a testament to her doggedness in trying to find these things. And now we're ready to start. I think we're probably ready now to start communicating to the landlord-tenant alliance and other folks about here's what we've done, here's what we've learned, here's who you can go to. Because I think that'll help private landlords.
Absolutely. It was helpful for us.
Yeah. So we feel confident too. I think this was addressed a couple months ago, but that the battery situation is under control. And again, I'm pretty sure you were instrumental in coordinating all that, but we feel like that's a safety concern that's been eliminated.
Yes. They changed, now we're using C batteries instead of double A's.
Oh, gotcha. So it's just a type of battery problem.
Ideally, being able to hardwire them would be best, because
Right.
now LHA staff is gonna have to go in and change out double A's.
Yeah.
But at least the safety element has been.
C's.
C's.
But C's last quite a while. These are the good ones that are gonna last a little while, so.
And they're developing them.
They are developing the
Again, she's already.
And then there also is it lets us know if the residents take the meth detector down. too.
Yeah.
So.
And then in the meth agreement that we're going to be, policy that we're going to be handing out to people, is there a specific provision saying like, we can go in under X, Y, and Z circumstances to replace the battery? There's like not very specifically.
Replacing the battery is just, a regular 24-hour maintenance request. It's not necessarily an emergency, I don't think.
No, I just meant sort of like to make sure that they would be, realize that they have to let you in to
Oh,
change
for
the
sure.
battery. Yeah, that's more important.
Yeah.
So there is a meth policy, developing the procedure for operations and maintenance, but there's also an addendum on their lease that acknowledges that it's there.
So we let you guys batteries changing.
Yeah.
There's no other parties out
Okay, any more questions for Sarah?
Well, and Sarah, when you're saying the suites, are you including Zinnia in there too, or? Because I expected a little bit more calls from Zinnia with them.
I
And
have
starting to
not.
lease on that, or we're not seeing anything?
I can pull up the Zinnia right now.
And what I can say is, as of last week, the two last big problem children at Zinnia are gone.
Okay,
So
maybe
I'm
that's
not on it
there's a
again.
timing in that.
So
right,
that's,
okay.
I hope that stays up, but the two people that really gave property management staff an issue are now gone. So one of them is in jail, the other one is moving to assisted living.
So 15 calls, 2, 3, 4 of them were sex offender registrations. A couple welfare checks, a disturbance, medical, and a trespassing issue.
So sex offender registration, that just means they're check-ins.
Okay.
Yeah.
That they're required to do, not a call because, yeah.
So it's the same number as suites, 15 calls.
Zinnia is 55 tenants and suites is 80. Las Vegas.
Okay. Harold?
I think they covered it all.
Okay, board members' comments. Anybody have any comments? Additional comments?
I was wondering if, and it doesn't have to be now, but you're very organized with this and with January too, and Erica, could we get a rundown, just an email, if that's easier, of the remaining coffee and conversations, but also just any other sort of like gatherings for the end of the year, for holidays, whatever, where we might be able to, pop by.
I'll send that.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think it's almost time for us as well to put our 2026 meetings on the calendar. So that would be great.
Okay. If nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, if you're opposed, we're adjourned.